Electric vehicles, all the rage, very popular here in the Valley. California has a law requiring electric-only car sales by 2035.
For years, we've been told that battery-powered cars would replace gas-powered vehicles entirely. We all thought electric vehicles were the future of driving. Governments set aggressive deadlines to ban gas-powered cars. Tesla was dominating the market, and new EV startups were popping up everywhere. But today, we're seeing the opposite. Massive price cuts, factories slowing down production, and even major brands shifting back to hybrid vehicles. And this is not just about electric vehicles. It's about the entire future of transportation. So what's going on? Why are people turning away from EVs? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of the car industry? Stick with me until the end, because the real reason behind this collapse will shock you. The EV sales crash, what's really happening? In order to understand this, we have to first look at what happened to Tesla, the company that led the charge for electric vehicle adoption. Saw its deliveries fall by 20% this year. The company tried to counteract this with aggressive price cuts, but it did not work. Buyers did not rush in to grab the so-called deals. Meanwhile, the Chinese automaker that was set to dethrone Tesla, a company called BYD, saw its sales fall by a staggering 40% in the same period. And it is not just them. Every major electric vehicle manufacturer, from legacy automakers to startups, is struggling. The warning signs have been everywhere. Hertz, one of the largest rental car companies, invested heavily in electric vehicles, expecting demand to rise. But instead of customers embracing them, many found them inconvenient, leading Hertz to dump thousands of electric vehicles from their fleet and return to gasoline-powered cars. Even Apple, a company with virtually unlimited resources, spent over $10 billion trying to build an electric vehicle, only to cancel the project entirely. If one of the most innovative and well-funded companies in the world does not see a future in electric vehicles, what does that mean for the rest of the industry? But this is not just a temporary sales slump. This is a sign of something much bigger, something fundamental about the way consumers view electric vehicles. The industry assumed that once people saw the benefits, demand would keep rising indefinitely. Instead, something else happened. Why EV growth stalled, the early adopter wall. Most people who wanted an electric vehicle have already bought one. That is the simple truth. In the early years, adoption was driven by a mix of technology enthusiasts, environmental advocates, and luxury buyers who wanted the newest, trendiest cars. These early adopters were willing to overlook the downsides, deal with charging limitations, and pay the premium prices. But now, automakers are struggling to convince the rest of the population. Mainstream buyers are a different challenge. Unlike early adopters, they are more cautious. They weigh their options carefully, compare costs, and think about long-term practicality. And right now, electric vehicles are simply not as attractive as traditional gasoline-powered cars. Even those who do buy electric vehicles often have a second gasoline car in their garage for long trips, meaning they are not fully committing to electric vehicles as their primary means of transportation. That alone tells us something important. Even many electric vehicle owners do not trust them enough to rely on them completely. Cost is another major factor. Many consumers who might be interested in electric vehicles are sticking to hybrids or gasoline-powered cars because they are more affordable, practical, and reliable. The average price of an electric vehicle is still significantly higher than that of a comparable gasoline-powered car. And despite promises that prices would drop over time, the reality is that they are not decreasing fast enough to convince skeptical buyers. So if new buyers are not interested, and early adopters have already made their purchase, what happens next? The industry cannot sustain itself on a niche market forever. Automakers need mass adoption, but the reality is that many consumers are simply not ready to make the switch. Tesla's growing problems. Is Musk losing the game? Elon Musk once said that Tesla would sell 20 million cars per year. That was the grand vision, the bold prediction that Tesla would dominate the industry, leaving legacy automakers behind. But today, Tesla is cutting production instead of expanding. What went wrong? Tesla was supposed to be the leader of the electric vehicle revolution, and for a while it was. But now the company is struggling in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Despite repeatedly lowering prices, Tesla has not been able to reignite demand. Buyers are not flocking to showrooms, and the once powerful Tesla brand is losing some of its magic. One of the biggest challenges Tesla faces is competition. In the past, Tesla was practically the only major company producing compelling electric vehicles, but that is no longer the case. Chinese automakers, particularly BYD, are undercutting Tesla with cheaper and often better electric vehicles. In China, Tesla is no longer the dominant force it once was, and this is affecting its global position as well. When your biggest competitor is offering high high-quality electric vehicles for thousands of dollars less, it is only a matter of time before buyers start looking elsewhere. Even Tesla's much-hyped Cybertruck did not provide the boost the company needed. Instead of driving a surge in interest, it raised more questions than answers. The vehicle's unusual design and production challenges made it more of a niche product rather than a mass-market success. Investors took notice, and Tesla's stock did not respond positively. Tesla was supposed to be untouchable, but now it is clear that even the biggest name in electric vehicles is struggling. And if Tesla is having this much trouble, what does that say about the rest of the industry? Toyota's hybrid strategy. Did they outsmart everyone? While electric vehicle brands are struggling, one automaker is winning, Toyota. When every other major car company went all in on electric vehicles, Toyota took a different approach. Instead of abandoning gasoline-powered cars, they doubled down on hybrids. And now that decision looks like one of the smartest moves in the industry. Toyota has long been a leader in hybrid technology. The company pioneered the hybrid market with the Prius. And while other automakers dismissed hybrids as a temporary solution, Toyota saw them as the future. Instead of racing to build electric vehicles that most consumers were not ready for, Toyota focused on refining hybrid technology, making their vehicles more efficient and appealing to a broader audience. That decision is paying off. Hybrid sales are rising while electric vehicle sales are struggling. Ford, which initially followed Tesla's strategy, is now planning to quadruple its hybrid production because they see where the market is going. Even General Motors, which abandoned hybrids in favor of a full electric vehicle strategy, is reconsidering and bringing hybrids back into their lineup. Consumers are responding because hybrids offer the best of both worlds. They provide better fuel efficiency without the limitations of electric vehicles. There is no range anxiety, no need to worry about charging infrastructure, and no massive battery replacement costs. For many buyers, hybrids are simply the more practical choice. Hybrids were once seen as a stepping stone to full electric vehicles, but now they might be the real future of cars. While electric vehicle brands are struggling to sell their vision of an all-electric world, Toyota is quietly dominating the market with a solution that people actually want. EVs are too expensive and getting worse. Electric vehicles were supposed to get cheaper. That was the promise. As battery technology improved and production ramped up, prices were meant to drop, making them an affordable option for the average consumer. But the reality, the opposite is happening. Electric vehicles still cost significantly more than their gas-powered counterparts. Even with government incentives, the upfront cost remains out of reach for many buyers. The average cost of a new electric vehicle is nearly 1.5 times that of a comparable gas-powered car. For a lot of people, that price gap is just too wide to justify making the switch. But it does not stop there. Once you drive a new electric vehicle off the lot, it starts losing value fast. Used electric vehicles are depreciating at record rates, with some models losing nearly 1/3 of their value in just 1 year. A Tesla that once held strong resale value now struggles to find buyers willing to pay even a fraction of its original price. That is because price cuts on new models are making older ones practically worthless. Why buy a used electric vehicle for nearly the same price as a brand new one with updated features and better battery technology? These price cuts might seem like a good thing for consumers at first, but they are actually a warning sign. They show that manufacturers are struggling to move inventory. If demand were strong, prices would hold steady. But slashing prices so frequently only makes buyers hesitate, waiting for the next drop. It is a cycle that is driving used electric vehicle values into the ground. If electric vehicles are a bad financial decision, why would people buy them? That is the question holding the entire industry back. And even if someone is willing to overlook the cost, there is another major issue waiting for them: charging infrastructure, the industry's biggest failure. Imagine needing to refuel your car, but every gas station within miles is either broken, overcrowded, or too far away. That is what electric vehicle owners face every day. Charging an electric vehicle is nothing like filling up a gas-powered car. A quick stop at the pump takes a couple of minutes. Charging an electric vehicle? That can take anywhere from 45 minutes to several hours. And that is assuming you can even find a working charger. Supercharger stations are overwhelmed. Long lines are becoming a common sight, especially during holidays or long trips. The number of public chargers is not increasing fast enough to meet demand, and when stations do exist, they are often malfunctioning. Studies show that a significant percentage of public charging stations are either broken, offline, or simply unreliable. And if a driver pulls up to a charger only to find it is out of order, that means another long wait just to find an alternative. But the problem is even bigger than just slow charging speeds or crowded stations. Millions millions of people do not have access to home charging at all. Apartment dwellers, those without private garages, and people living in dense urban areas struggle with the reality that they cannot easily plug in their cars overnight. This means they are entirely dependent on public chargers, making electric vehicle ownership incredibly inconvenient. And then there is the issue of road trips. A trip that would normally take a day in a gas-powered car could stretch into 2, simply because of the extra charging time required. Charging stops are not just about plugging in the vehicle, finding an available charger, waiting for other drivers to finish, and dealing with slow charging speeds all add up. The result? A travel experience that is frustrating, time-consuming, and unpredictable. If charging is still this bad, will it ever actually improve? And even if it does, there is still one more problem most buyers do not think about until it is too late: battery health and repair costs. Battery depreciation and repair costs, a hidden nightmare. EV batteries last for years, right? Not always. Most buyers assume that once they purchase an electric vehicle, the battery will last as long as the car itself. But in reality, battery degradation varies based on climate, charging habits, and even how often fast chargers are used. Extreme heat, extreme cold, and frequent high-speed charging can all accelerate battery wear, leading to reduced range far sooner than expected. For some drivers, that is not just an inconvenience, it is a financial disaster. When a battery starts to degrade, replacing it is not cheap. In some cases, it can cost more than $20,000 to replace a battery, nearly as much as a brand new vehicle. That is not just speculation. Some electric vehicle owners have already faced repair bills so high that their only option was to scrap the car entirely. And it does not stop with battery replacement. Insurance rates for electric vehicles are climbing rapidly. Repair costs are higher than those for gas-powered cars, and insurers are starting to take notice. Minor accidents that would be easily repairable on a gas-powered vehicle can lead to total write-offs on electric cars, simply because battery damage is too expensive to fix. That means higher premiums and fewer affordable options for buyers. Electric vehicles were supposed to be low maintenance, but are they really? If a car loses range too quickly, costs a fortune to fix, and becomes too expensive to insure, how practical is it for the average person? These concerns are causing buyers to hesitate. And when people hesitate, governments step in. But that does not mean their plans are working. The truth about EV mandates, why governments are failing. For years, policymakers have been pushing aggressive electric vehicle mandates, aiming to phase out gas-powered cars entirely. But there is just one problem. Consumers are pushing back. California planned to ban the sale of new gas-powered cars by the mid-2030s, but now even that timeline is being reconsidered due to consumer hesitation and the realities of infrastructure limitations. Germany recently ended its electric vehicle subsidy program, and the impact was immediate. The moment financial incentives disappeared, electric vehicle sales plummeted. This proves what many industry experts feared all along. Demand for electric vehicles is not organic. It is driven by subsidies, not true market interest. If governments have to keep propping up the industry with financial incentives just to keep sales moving, is the transition really happening at all? And then there are the auto dealers. Many report that customers still prefer gas-powered or hybrid cars. Dealers are even turning down electric vehicle inventory because they know it will not sell. When buyers walk onto a lot, they are looking for something practical, affordable, and familiar. And right now, electric vehicles are struggling to meet those basic requirements. But while Western nations struggle to spark organic interest in electric vehicles, another player has already cracked the code: China. And its rapid dominance in the global EV market is rewriting the rules of the game. They are already on top of the industry, and they did this without anyone noticing. China's EV invasion, how they took over the market. BYD just overtook Tesla, and it is only getting started. For years, the electric vehicle market has been synonymous with Tesla, but that is no longer the case. China has been quietly and methodically positioning itself as the new global leader in the industry, and just now the rest of the world is starting to pay attention. Chinese automakers are producing electric vehicles that are not only more affordable, but also packed with features that rival or even surpass their Western counterparts. Companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng have emerged as serious competitors, and their sales numbers prove it. The secret behind their success lies in their streamlined supply chains, government support, and relentless focus on efficiency. While Tesla and other Western manufacturers struggle with fluctuating material costs and production delays, China has managed to maintain steady production and undercut pricing. The scale of China's dominance is staggering. The country has now surpassed Japan as the world's largest car exporter, and it is largely due to the explosive growth of its electric vehicle industry. Chinese brands are flooding international markets with vehicles that are significantly cheaper than American and European alternatives. Buyers in South America, Africa, and even parts of Europe are turning to Chinese electric vehicles because they offer a combination of affordability and advanced technology that traditional automakers have failed to match. Tesla, once the undisputed leader in electric vehicles, now finds itself struggling to keep up. The biggest threat to Tesla is not Ford, General Motors, or Volkswagen. It is BYD. The Chinese automaker has already overtaken Tesla in global electric vehicle sales, and its momentum shows no signs of slowing. With the ability to manufacture batteries in-house and sell electric vehicles at a fraction of Tesla's cost, BYD is redefining what it means to be an industry leader. China is not just competing in the electric vehicle market, it is winning. And for Western automakers, the road ahead looks more challenging than ever. But as China solidifies its dominance, another part of the world is dealing with a different kind of crisis: Europe's EV gamble. Why Volkswagen and BMW are struggling. Germany bet big on electric vehicles, and now it is paying the price. For years, European automakers aggressively pushed for a transition to electric, encouraged by government policies and generous subsidies. But now those subsidies are disappearing, and the industry is facing a harsh reality. Demand is not keeping up with expectations. Volkswagen, once a leader in global electric vehicle expansion, is struggling. The company made massive investments in battery technology and production facilities, expecting an unrelenting surge in demand. Instead, it is now cutting costs, delaying projects, and grappling with declining interest from consumers. Mercedes-Benz is in a similar predicament, with slowing sales and a growing sense of uncertainty about whether its fully electric future will be as successful as it once seemed. Government incentives played a significant role in propping up the European electric vehicle market, but when those subsidies were abruptly removed in countries like Germany, sales plummeted almost overnight. The transition to electric was supposed to be seamless, but instead it has revealed significant cracks in the European automotive strategy. Consumers are hesitant to buy electric vehicles without financial support, and manufacturers are now realizing that they cannot rely solely on government backing to drive adoption. The situation is made even worse by labor challenges and high production costs. European automakers are finding it difficult to compete with their Chinese counterparts, who can produce vehicles at a much lower price. China is not only dominating in terms of sales, but also in innovation, leaving European manufacturers scrambling to catch up. Adding to the crisis is the growing backlash from environmentalists. Tesla's Berlin factory, once hailed as a major milestone in European electric vehicle production, is now facing protests from activists who argue that its environmental impact outweighs its benefits. The irony is unavoidable. A company that built its reputation on sustainability is now being criticized for its ecological footprint. Europe's electric vehicle plan is falling apart, and legacy automakers are struggling to adapt. But while European manufacturers are caught in a cycle of uncertainty, another battle is unfolding between the world's two largest economies. US versus China, the race for EV supremacy. China wants to dominate the electric vehicle industry, but can the United States fight back? The answer to that question will define the future of the global auto market. The United States government is pouring billions into electric vehicle incentives, hoping to jumpstart domestic production and prevent China from completely overtaking the industry. The government has introduced aggressive subsidies, tax credits, and funding for infrastructure projects to make electric vehicles more accessible to American consumers. The plan is clear: push electric vehicle adoption as quickly as possible and reduce reliance on foreign manufacturers. But the challenge is immense. Chinese electric vehicles are not just cheaper, they are also more advanced. Companies like BYD have mastered battery production, significantly reducing costs while improving efficiency. Meanwhile, American automakers are struggling with production delays, high costs, and supply chain disruptions. Tesla and Ford, two of the biggest names in the American electric vehicle market, are facing increasing pressure as they try to keep up with China's relentless pace. The competition is not just about cars, it is about global economic influence. China's rapid expansion in the electric vehicle sector is part of a broader strategy to establish itself as the leader in green technology. If the United States fails to counter this, it risks losing a critical industry to its biggest geopolitical rival. The real electric vehicle war is not happening in showrooms. It is happening between nations, and the stakes could not be higher. But what happens if the demand for electric vehicles never reaches the levels that automakers and governments predicted? What happens if EV sales don't recover? Automakers invested billions in electric vehicle factories, expecting a future where demand would only grow. But what if that future never arrives? Ford, General Motors, and Tesla have all poured massive resources into expanding electric vehicle production. New factories have been built, supply chains have been restructured, and billions of dollars have been spent on research and development. But if electric vehicle sales continue to struggle, these investments could turn into some of the biggest financial miscalculations in automotive history. If sales remain stagnant, factories could shut down and thousands of jobs could disappear. The electric vehicle revolution was supposed to create employment opportunities, but instead it might lead to widespread layoffs and economic uncertainty. Investors, once eager to bet on the future of electric vehicles, are growing nervous. Stock prices of major automakers have become increasingly volatile as doubts about electric vehicle adoption continue to rise. The biggest question remains unanswered. Will consumer demand ever catch up to the industry's expectations? The answer will determine whether electric vehicles remain a niche market or truly replace traditional cars. The electric vehicle industry is not just losing money. It is facing a moment of reckoning, and unless automakers find a way to address these challenges, the dream of a fully electric future could fade before it ever truly begins. Are hybrid cars the real future? For years, the world was told that battery electric vehicles would take over, replacing gasoline-powered cars entirely. But as electric vehicle sales slow and automakers rethink their strategies, one unlikely contender is making a massive comeback: hybrid cars. These vehicles, combining an internal combustion engine with an electric motor, were once seen as a temporary solution. Now they are proving to be the smartest bet in the automotive industry. While fully electric vehicles struggle with high costs, limited charging infrastructure, and battery replacement concerns, hybrids offer the best of both worlds. They provide fuel efficiency without the range anxiety that comes with relying solely on electric power. Toyota, the company that pioneered hybrid technology, never fully committed to battery electric vehicles. Instead, it doubled down on hybrids, and the results speak for themselves. While other automakers are losing billions on electric vehicle development, Toyota's hybrid sales are soaring. Ford has also taken note, announcing plans to quadruple its hybrid production over the next several years. Even General Motors, which previously phased out hybrid vehicles in favor of fully electric models, is now reconsidering. But here's where things get interesting. Hybrids are not just a fallback option. They could become the dominant car type of the future, with rising fuel costs, unstable electric vehicle resale values, and growing concerns about battery waste. Hybrids offer a practical, cost-effective, and widely accepted alternative. So the question is, if hybrid vehicles are proving to be the real winners, will the world ever fully transition to battery electric cars at all? What do you think? Let's know in the comments, and thanks for watching.